Dave Newman is on the ferry lineup, so his connection might be challenging. Interestingly enough, and but Michelle will be there as staff, and so is Leslie Ann to support any questions my council might have. Then
should be straightforward.
Okay. And that there's that piece on the third reading, Mr. Mayor, for
yes,
rescinding.
Got the agenda here. Yeah.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Councillor.
Hey.
Is that Sammy?
Did you hear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I recognized that voice.
Yeah, there's having a big yawn beside me here.
Morning, Councillor Ladwig.
Good morning again.
I'm barely getting it together this morning. I got my kids. I'm sitting here in my pajama pants, but I've got a dress shirt.
It's that kind of day.
Yesterday at the regional district, Director McMahon was saying, oh, you know, from Gibsons, you can see Keats, the smoke is improving. Today from our place, we cannot see Keats.
Okay, good morning, everybody. It is 9 o'clock on by my watch. We will call the special council meeting to order, acknowledging that we're meeting again today on the traditional territory of the Squamish Nation. Could I have a motion to approve the adopt agenda for the special council meeting of September 18, 2020. Councillor Crowell, thank you. Councillor D'Andrade, thank you. And all in favor of adoption? Thank you very much. We know that this is a limited agenda on this meeting for the purpose of adopting the tree bylaw. And we'll go then to the first item on the agenda, which is the item 3.1, the tree preservation bylaw number 1282, 2020. And there's two recommendations here. The first one is, and we'll take resolutions on separately. The first one is that the tree preservation bylaw number 1282, 2020 be adopted. Someone make that motion. Councillor Crowell, seconded by Councillor Ladwig. Further discussion, councillors, of the bylaw? We all understand what we're reading. The 50 pages are included in your agenda package. So I'll call the question. All in favor of adoption? Thank you. Yeah. And just a note to staff on this is that even though in the motion that we adopted last week, we talked about bringing this back after 6 months, you can bring it back anytime. If there's an amendment required that's identified, don't wait 6 months. Don't be bold, bring it back, and council will deal with it, because the important thing is that we get this right, that it works for the community, and that we don't take time studying where we know there might be a problem. We've identified a problem. CIO?
Thank you, sir. Duly noted. We also want to add that we are also building up on additional support for the implementation of this bylaw, and are engaging with Mrs. Clark and BCIT, those students are going to be helping us with some of the background work as well, and around to add additional support around biodiversity and which will support our bylaw around Bear Aware program as well. So that's more to come still.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Ludwig?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Beamish. I appreciate the fact that we can bring this back before the 6 months, and I appreciate you, reminding us of that. What's of greater concern for me is that we just get too busy and then forget even at 6 months. So I'll just let everyone know that I've got a reminder in my calendar at 5 months that we will to remind all of us to review this 6 months, because that's more my concern. It's just we all get busy and things.
Yeah, I think Councillor D'Andrade expressed that at the last meeting as well, and it is important that we maintain that commitment to the community. Councillor Kroll?
Thank you, Mayor Beamish. Just to address what Councillor Ludwig mentioned today and what Councillor D'Andrade mentioned at the meeting earlier in the week, I think, as you said yourself, the review option is there. And, as this bylaw is rolled out, I'm quite sure some of the people that we heard from during the public hearing, if there's major issues, they're going to raise it's going to be to the forefront. So I think there's, as you say, there is opportunity, before 6 months, before 5 months, there may be issues we have to deal with. And I'm sure that, with staff, and they're going to be monitoring the pros and cons as they come along. So I think it really is a living bylaw. We're trying to preserve trees, but the bylaw itself, it's not going to be perfect out of the gate. And I think we all recognize that. So I think it's a unique opportunity to work with the people it affects to eventually, make it a very viable tool for preserving our environment. So, I appreciate all the work that staff have put into this. It's people say, well, just copy another bylaw from another area, but staff put a lot of time and energy into this, and we're very thoughtful to how it impacts on our community. So I just wanted to once again acknowledge and applaud them for the time and energy they put into it. Thank you.
Councillor D'Andrade?
I know, thank you, Mayor Beamish. Last council, we also committed to have Q&A in our website. It's just a reminder to include the previous question as well, as the one that came through the public hearing, and any question that has come at this point, just not new questions, right? But I think it's very important because some of them, it's very easy to clarify, and it's hard for the public to know every nuance of every bylaw. So I think it helps a lot.
Good point. Thank you. I will say last night I had a meeting with the Public Art Committee, and we were looking at the existing mural that's down below the bus stop in Weingarten Park, and looking at how we can, and you'll hear this at our next council meeting, but how that mural can be changed. And one of the questions was, well, there's a tree there that blocks the view of it. Can we cut that tree down? And I said, well, no, we can't cut the tree down. We have a tree bylaw. And then the thought was, well, how can we remove a tree like that? How can we relocate that tree, as opposed to how can we cut it down? So it takes a mind change in saying, okay, what are the options? We can't cut that tree down. How can it be trimmed? How can it be relocated? And that's what we need to start thinking ourselves. Councillor Ludwig?
Yeah, no, this is a really good point. It was something that I noticed we kind of didn't emphasize in our bylaw is tree replacements. We didn't talk about minimum size of tree replacements. Like you cut down a cedar, like I've got cedars on my property that the diameter is massive. I was actually quite proud looking at, I think what was that woman's name? Kim, she sent us the aerial shots.
Yeah,
you can actually, you can actually see the trees on my property. They now stand out because there's so few of them left. But I did think to myself, so if we say someone needs to put in 3 trees to replace one of those, is just a plug good enough? A little tree plug? Is that? Or
I believe there was some definition. Director of Planning, or Michelle, do you recall that?
Yeah, there's standards for the replacement trees.
What are the standards then? I don't remember seeing that.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but it is in there.
Yeah.
I'll have another look then.
Yeah. Yes. So forget your tree plugs. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. I mean, but that is a problem with such a long bylaw. It's so hard to follow the whole thing. Like,
Exactly right. And that's why the information around it is going to be important to what we put out around it. Yeah.
We'll,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, we'll follow up with that information. We'll pull that section out and send to
Yeah.
council just after the meeting.
And I
Yes.
think it's Council D'Andrade mentioned, it's important we go back to the public hearing and the questions that were raised, and we identify those again in the Q&A. And I think that's the starting point for the Q&A, is the questions that were already raised, and so that we have something to build on. We don't have to wait for the next question. Okay, well, thank you for that. We'll now go on to the next recommendation, that policy 6.1. Tree removal on public land be repealed. Somebody care to make that motion? Councillor Kroll, thank you. Councillor D'Andrade, thank you. Understand what we're doing here now. We do have a policy for trees, public land being replaced by the bylaw. So now we're in a position to remove that. So any discussion? All in favor of repeal of that? Thank you. That's repealed. And thank you. We'll go on to the next recommendation, and that is on the bylaw enforcement notice. Bylaw notice enforcement bylaw 112510 tree preservation, and I'll ask that be introduced, please. Director of Planning, thank you.
Thank you. I can introduce the report because Dave's not here. Basically, what we looked into a piece of legislation called the Local Government Bylaw Notice Enforcement Act. And under that legislation, it limited the maximum penalty fine in a bylaw notice to be 500. So this report presents the updated schedule. So it's recommending rescinding third reading and changing third reading with the amended attachment.
Thank you. Yeah, everybody understands that. There is a report in the package. So motion firstly that the report be received. Councillor Kroll, Councillor D'Andrade, thank you. Any discussion of the report? I'll understand it. It came out, I noticed from last meeting. So the recommendation that third reading of the bylaw notice enforcement amendment bylaw number 112510/2020 be rescinded, and that bylaw notice enforcement amendment bylaw number 112510/2020 be read a third time as amended. Somebody care to make that motion? Councillor D'Andrade, thank you. Councillor Kroll, thank you for seconding. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Okay. That ends the business of this meeting. So the next regular meeting of council will be on October the 6th at 7 p.m. And motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Kroll, Councillor Ladwig, all in favor of adjournment? Thank you very much. Thank you, council. We will now see you at 11 o'clock, or sorry, 10 o'clock. Sorry, 10 o'clock for our next meeting. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, council. Have a good day.